It was almost midnight when Daniel, a taxi driver in his late 30s, drove along the empty highway. The night was quiet, and the fog was thick enough to hide the trees on both sides. He had been driving since morning, and this was supposed to be his last ride before going home. Just as he was about to turn off the meter and head back, his radio crackled. "Pickup request, near the old river bridge." Daniel hesitated for a second. That road was known for being quiet and lonely at night. But it was his last job of the day, and he needed the money. So, he accepted the ride and turned the car toward the bridge. After a few minutes, he arrived at the spot. The fog was so heavy that his headlights could barely cut through it. Then, from the side of the road, he saw a figure waving. It was a man, wearing a long black coat and a hat that covered most of his face. Daniel rolled down the window. "Need a ride?" The man nodded. Double quotes yes. To the city center, his voice was calm, deep, and serious. Daniel unlocked the door, and the stranger got in quietly. As they drove off, the silence in the car felt heavy. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the occasional whisper of wind outside. After a few minutes, Daniel tried to make small talk. "Late night. How, you work nearby?" The man didn't answer right away. Then he said softly, "You could say that." Something about his tone made Daniel uneasy. He glanced at the man in the rearview mirror. The stranger was looking out the window, but his hands were tightly gripping a small leather bag. Daniel noticed it but didn't ask. He just focused on the road. A few miles later, they reached a checkpoint, but strangely, there were no police officers around, just flashing lights. Daniel slowed down, wondering what was going on. As they passed the checkpoint, the stranger spoke again for the first time in a while. "Keep driving. Don't stop for anything." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He looked in the mirror again. "Is something wrong?" The man's eyes met his. "No questions. Just drive." Daniel did as he was told, but he couldn't help but notice something odd in the distance. A few police cars were heading in their direction, sirens faintly echoing through the fog. Now his hands began to sweat on the steering wheel. After a few minutes, the stranger pulled out a folded photograph from his coat and stared at it. Daniel could see just a glimpse. It looked like a young girl, maybe 10 years old. "You have a daughter?" Daniel asked quietly. The man looked up, surprised by the question. "I had," he replied. The silence that followed felt endless. The fog was thinning now, and the city lights were beginning to appear in the distance. Daniel was relieved. He could finally drop the man off and end this strange, tense ride. But before he could say anything, the man suddenly told him to take a turn off the main road. "This isn't the way to the city," Daniel said, his voice a little shaky. "I know," the man replied. "Just drive." They ended up near an old, abandoned warehouse by the docks. The man finally spoke again. "Stop here." Daniel stopped the car. The man took a deep breath and opened his bag. Inside, Daniel saw a small pile of papers, an old revolver, and that same photograph. The man placed the gun and the photo on the dashboard. "Do you have kids?" he asked. "Yes," Daniel said softly. "Then you'll understand. Sometimes, when you lose everything, you stop caring what happens next." Before Daniel could ask more, the man opened the door and stepped out, walking toward the warehouse. Daniel sat frozen in his seat. He didn't know whether to follow or drive away. Then, suddenly, bright lights flashed across the warehouse. Police sirens blared. Officers were shouting. They had surrounded the place. Daniel panicked. He realized now the man was running from something serious, maybe from them. A few seconds later, a loud noise echoed from inside the warehouse, followed by a dead silence. Daniel sat there, staring into the fog, unsure what just happened. Then an officer knocked on his window. "Did you bring him here?" the officer asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "Stay right here," the officer said, running off toward the warehouse. Daniel looked down at the photo the man had left behind, the one of the young girl. On the back, it had just one line written in small letters: "I'm sorry, Lily." He stared at it for a long moment, the fog slowly lifting around him. Then he started the car and drove off quietly. leaving the bridge and everything that happened behind.